And this really resonates with today's topic of empowering yourself to pursue the purpose of your life and really just even identifying the purpose, because you might not even have done that yet. So, if you embrace emotional intelligence and open the door to a life of fulfillment and beauty, you can have the life that you deserve, the life that you desire, and you can curate it yourself. And you do that by beginning to incorporate daily habits that really push you toward that person that you are going to be in the future as you are pursuing your purpose. Okay. So, one of them is deep breathing exercises. And what deep breathing exercises do is they enhance your self awareness, and you can get emotional control if you're aware of where you are. I always talk about being a triggered responder or an emotional planner. When something is triggering you, taking a couple of deep breaths to really assess where you are, and then taking the step to control your emotions is paramount for you being in a place where you can then start thinking about what your purpose is. A lot of times we don't get an opportunity to do that because we don't prioritize ourselves. And that's something that we really need to do as women, as mothers, as people who really are pursuing a life that we think is the life that we're supposed to pursue. And I say that we think is the life that we're supposed to pursue because if we haven't identified what our purpose is, we are not living in the life that we're supposed to pursue. The question remains, what happens when you don't prioritize yourself? What happens when you don't make your needs important? And I'm not saying that you negate your responsibility, but I'm saying, you can split your focus. Your focus doesn't always just have to be on being a good mom or being a good partner or wife or doing well at work. You can think about what it is that you want, because otherwise you might end up feeling undervalued and unfulfilled. And when you feel undervalued and unfulfilled, then you lose your voice. And your voice could be the voice that you're talking to yourself, that you deserve self-care. You deserve a moment of peace so you can contemplate about what your next step is or what it is that you really want out of life. Remember, you alone are enough. Okay. So you don't have to get feedback from everybody about what you should be doing or what your desires should be or what your purpose should be in life. I mean, you do have to consider other people, but what I am talking about is what do you want to do, and building yourself up to know that you are worthy to do and have these things and that you are enough and worthy to be capable of them is something that you need to explore. There's a quote by Maya Angelou that says, "You have nothing to prove to anybody." Nothing to prove to anybody. So, what someone else's plans for your life are doesn't factor in right here. By focusing on yourself, you cultivate a life of elegance, a life of wellness and happiness. And you can implement a practice of setting boundaries and developing vulnerability to prioritize your well being. And there's nothing wrong with setting up boundaries. And the boundaries are not for everyone else necessarily. The boundaries are for you because you allow your environment to be created by your emotions. So your emotions dictate your thinking, and your thinking dictates your behavior, and your behavior sets up your environment. And your environment includes the things that you will take from other people. And I'm talking about the microaggressions at work, or the abuse verbally or unintentional by some other people that are close to you. Not being heard makes you feel less than. You have to develop the idea that thinking of yourself benefits not just you, but the people you love and the people around you. So whether it's taking 5 minutes every day, whether it's taking 20 minutes, a half an hour, working on your self-care and setting up those boundaries so you get that time for contemplation. And you need to do that. And you're worthy of doing that. And I say, if you don't do it, then you are letting time go by without you living or even knowing what your purpose is. And how does that add up to a life fulfilled? It doesn't. What I want you to think about is what happens if you don't imagine or you don't plan for your future self. If you do nothing to get you happiness and fulfillment in your future self, and your future could be next week, your future actually could be this afternoon or this evening. But I'm talking a little bit further out. What does your future self look like in 6 to 12 months? If you really took a moment to concentrate on what you want and then start planning for a way to even begin that process, you could be a totally different person, and you would need to be a totally different person in order to do the things that you're not currently doing. Because the way that you think right now and the actions that you've done have set up the environment where you are right now. So if where you are right now is not living in your purpose, then you are not yet the person who's ready to pursue. But I'm telling you, right after this video, you are the person if you just start thinking about imagining what your future should look like, what your future should contain, who should be in your future, what activities you should be doing, what you're even going to look like in your future, where you're going to shop in your future, where you're going to live in your future, how much money are you going to have in your future, and how much peace and fulfillment you can have in your future. But if you don't start imagining that, how are you going to work through it? How are you going to work through your emotions that you have right now to get to the place where you can start developing that life? If you don't start this imagination process, this could lead to a life of not being fully lived. You hear people talking about, if you were to die today and you look back over your life, what would you have accomplished? You know, that could be a sad proposition for some people. Because if all that they have done up to this point is live on an emotional roller coaster, not take ownership of their emotions, not even contemplate what they want in their life, how could they have contributed more? The Bible also says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." One of the major components of developing your future is hope. And hope comes from the belief that there is something more, there is something bigger, and that God is here to help us along the way. So he already has a plan for our future. All we have to do is maintain and develop our relationship with him so we get the wisdom and the direction that he is ready to give us. But if we'd only talk to him when something's going bad, we don't know his voice when we hear it, when he's instructing us to do what we need to do to get where we want to go, to have the future that we want to have. So we have to develop our relationship with God so that we can be in tune. And when things happen that wreck our emotions or shake us up a bit, we have the hope because we know that God has the plan for us. So we need to embrace this wisdom and align our purpose with our deepest desires, because God gives us the desires of our heart.